Hey folks, it's Teresa. We are going to take some of those delicious apples that we picked from our tree and make some more of the Dutch apple pie preserves. This is a low sugar recipe. It doesn't take, it takes sugar. It just doesn't take near as much sugar as some preserves. And so the first batch I made of this, I cut the apples a little bit bigger than required because I like chunky jams and preserves. But it ended up, after I got it canned and got it ready to jar it up, the apples looked pretty big still. I thought they would cook down more. That was my very first time ever making that with apples. I've done jam before, but not with apples. And I thought they would cook down more than that, and they were still quite big. And so I went ahead and jarred those in mostly pints, and we'll use that for pie filling. And it was delicious. I taste tested it. It was delicious. It will make a great pie. So most of that was jarred up, canned up in pints. Now, today I'm going to finish up most of these apples, and I'm going to do jelly jars, and I am going to cut the apples smaller. I'm using the same recipe as the first time I was supposed to be making preserves, but and I'd called it jam. I always call everything that's chunky jam, but the recipe actually called it preserves. So anyway, I am going to cut the apples a little smaller this time, but with the same recipe, and put them in jelly jars, and these will be preserves. And it is Dutch apple pie preserves. And so here we go. The first thing I need to do is get some of these apples cut up. And I showed you in a previous video my apple peeler that Sarah from Overlook Valley Homestead sent me back probably a year ago. And I had commented, she has one, and I had commented how much I liked hers. I thought hers was an antique, and then she sent me one, and I was like, it must be a replica. Well, I got to looking, and you can find them on Amazon, probably other places. I did see them on Amazon for about $13. So I'm going to get busy and get these apples peeled and cored, and I will show you a little bit of that. I won't show a whole lot of that because we just showed that in a previous video last time. So here we go. Let's get started. So here is that apple peeler that I mentioned, and all you do, it is a suction cup one. Someone told me they had a clamp one that worked really good. This one is a suction cup. You just set it down there and flip the lever, and it suctions down. It works pretty good for me. I always hold my hand there just in case it wiggles a little. But you pull this back. There's a lever to pull this piece back, and then you stick that apple up on there. There's some of our apples. They are nice Gala apples, and a lot of them were pretty good size this year. This is the first year we've had them be that big and nice. Harvest that we got. Last year was pretty good, but this year was even better. We have the one apple tree. The other one got damaged and fell over, and so we have that no more. So anyway, you get that up there smooth, and I just hold on to it and crank away. And the kids absolutely love this. The kids love the spiral that it does. There's the peels. I throw them over to me to use for making apple cider vinegar. And just pull that apple off the end. It makes a spiral apple that the kids just absolutely love. Put that in my bowl, and then you back off of there a little bit, and it pops that core off. That will go in to make apple cider vinegar also. I'll show one more, and then I'll just get busy doing it and come back when I get ready for my recipe. This is a big apple here. So I hold on to this. I don't know that you have to, but I do. It's not hard to turn, but I do have sore hands from carpal tunnel, and so it's a little hard for me to push that up on there good, and then turning is a little bit hard for me. I have soreness right up in both thumbs there. I'm pretty sure it's carpal tunnel. It's never been diagnosed. And so there we go, and there's your apple. Now it left a little bit of peel on there that I'll pinch off, and back out of there, and it spits off that core. So there you go. I'm just going to finish up all these apples. I've got a long way to go, and then I will come back and video some more of making this recipe. Okay, I finally got those apples done, and they are all done. I have about 6 pounds of them. This recipe calls for 2 pounds, and it ends up making 5 half pints. I am tripling this recipe. I will leave this recipe down in the description below. And while I'm at it, I want to show this beautiful apron, y'all. Let me step back. I have this beautiful apron that is a one-size-fits-all. It's adjustable. And a wonderful lady that watches our channel named Nanny Joyce made this for me and sent this to me. And I love that it's adjustable. The straps move and it's adjustable, but also look at this beautiful pattern. Isn't that pretty? I just love that. So, all right, we're gonna get started on this recipe. Like I said before, I had cut my apples a little too big in the first video and I decided to use that for apple pie filling. So for these preserves, I'm going to cut this down even further. Now my apples are starting to turn just a little because they've been sitting out here a little while. They will have lemon juice in this recipe, of course. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to cut these apples. I'm going to cut them in half. Now this is the spiral apples. So I will cut them in half. Last time I cut them in half and then half again. And that still made some of them pretty big size chunks. So what I need to do this time is cut them again. One more time there. Like that. So let's get all these cut. And I will have to do that with all of these apples. So here we go. I'm going to start putting them in the pan. And while I do this, I will go ahead and tell you my ingredients, and then I will finish this up so you don't have to be bored with all of these details. So these are smaller chunks than I used before, and I think that will work better for my preserves. They are supposed to be diced. The recipe calls for diced, but the way I peeled them and done them with my thing makes spirals, so you couldn't really dice them. But this dices them. It just takes a few more cuts than I made before. All right, so just 3 or 4 cuts there, so that's not too bad. There we go. Now I'm going to go over the ingredients. Okay, had to turn that light out. I'm going to go over the ingredients, and bear in mind I'm tripling mine, but this will also be in the description. And here we go. 2 pounds of tart apples. I suppose you could use any kind you wanted. This recipe calls for tart, and mine are Gala apples, so they are tart. 2 pounds of tart apples, 1 1/4 cup of water, 1/2 cup of raisins, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, 1 cup of sugar, 1½ teaspoons of apple pie spice. If you don't have apple pie spice, you can use cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, and clove. And I'm not sure you even have to have all 4 of those. I think that if you used probably cinnamon and nutmeg or cinnamon and clove, you would probably, I'm gonna say, get the same result. The ginger, it calls for cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, clove for an apple pie. That's what's in apple pie spice. So if you didn't have apple pie spice, you could make that up yourself. 3 tablespoons of powdered fruit pectin. And for this recipe, for the low sugar, you want to get the low sugar recipe pectin. You don't have to do that. It just wouldn't be the low sugar. So it would still work. 3 tablespoons of the powdered fruit pectin for low sugar recipe. 1 cup of brown sugar. That's the ingredients. Now, I use sugar. I use a raw sugar, and so that's what I'm using with this recipe, is a raw sugar, and I'm using a light brown sugar. So, okay, I'm gonna get these apples all diced up, and then we're gonna start in. I'm getting it called for the 2 pounds of apples. I have 6, so I'm gonna get those all diced up, and then we will put in our water and put them in our water and get started. So for my 6 pounds of apples diced up over here on the stove, I added the 3 3/4 cup of water because I'm tripling. So my next step is that was my first 4 ingredients together over here. So I need to put in my raisins and my lemon juice with that. So, okay, here's my raisins. Now what I done, we are not big fans of raisins, so I didn't put quite as much raisins as it calls for. That's just me. It does call for 1/2 cup of raisins, and I probably used a cup, but I'm tripling my recipe. So instead of tripling my recipe, that would have been 1.5 cups. I probably used about 1 cup. So I cut my raisins just a little because most of us are not big fans of raisins. Because this is what I had, this is what I use. Sometimes I'm just like, I am not going to run out and buy something else. I have these little boxes of raisins that had been brought over for the grandkids and they never got ate. So I am using all the little boxes of raisins that I had here rather than run out and buy raisins. We don't do raisins much, and these happen to be here. They're not real old. They're probably 3 months old maybe. So that's what I'm going to use because that's what I got. So there you go. That's about 1 cup of raisins. As that starts cooking down just a little, I can get that mixed in good. Now the next thing was the lemon juice. It calls for 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, so I'm going to use 6. So I'm going to use 6 tablespoons of lemon juice. This is the first 4 ingredients. You mix those together first and get that boiling. And meanwhile, you're mixing the next ingredients, which is the sugar, the apple pie spice, and your pectin. All right, there we go, finally. Okay, there we go. Okay, now we are getting to these dry ingredients. We only use, it calls for a cup of sugar, which I'm using 3 cups of sugar. Right now it calls to use a quarter of the sugar. So in another bowl, I'm gonna take about a quarter of this sugar. That's about right. And put my my apple pie spice, and let's see, that is, gotta focus my eyes here, y'all, 1.5 teaspoons. So there's a teaspoon. I'm gonna use 1, 2, whoops, 3, and my halves will be 1.5. So there's another 1.5. I can do a little bit of math, y'all. Now that was, let's see, what else do I need? Oh, my pectin. I got to get my pectin in there. 3 tablespoons of the pectin. So I will need 9 tablespoons of pectin in here. 2, 4. Okay. Now we're going to mix these dry ingredients and get them put in the pot as soon as that starts to boil. Okay, so we moved over here closer, and you can see this was piled over. It's really starting to cook down now, and it's starting to boil. And so I'm just going to try to keep that stirred all the way to the bottom. A different pan would probably help, but right now, this was the only pan I could find. I have a shorter, wider pan, but I can't find that thing. So we are stuck with this big tall pan that is hard to get to the bottom of, but I'm making it, and it will cook on down. As it cooks on down, I'll be able to stir it a little easier. Anyway, it's starting to smell wonderful in here, and that's just with the raisins and apples. When I get this, and lemon, when I get this mixture in here, it's gonna smell even better. This is the sugar, the apple pie spice, and the pectin. And we're gonna put that in there. We held off on a little bit of the sugar till we get this boiling again good, and reduced down some, and then we'll put the rest of the sugar. And okay, this is actually starting to boil good, and a good hard boil. We'll let that go for 1 minute. I'll stir down in there, make sure it doesn't stick, but let that boil for a minute. I'm gonna move that over, get my water bath canner up here, and get my jars over here closer. That's good. Okay, everything's ready. I got my water bath canner over here, ready to go. I moved the preserves over here off of the eye, off the hot eye, and we are just going to dip in our little jelly jars. And I get a little, make sure I get a little of that juice. It's still kind of juicy, so I'm getting some juice and some apple. And then I'm gonna use my little wand here poke that down in there good. Make sure the air bubbles are out and make sure I can get all I can get in there. Now I will move that to the next jar. I will take a paper towel and wipe off that rim good. I'll get me a lid and a ring. Put that on there and put it in there. And there's what it's looking like. Looks delicious. I know it's delicious. I already sampled it a little bit. And here we go. Just fill that jar up. There we go. I thought of something else while I was fixing this, and I sampled a little piece, and I thought, man, that would be so good with ice cream. It would be like, it would almost be like apple pie with ice cream on top, only it would be backwards. It would be the opposite. It would be ice cream with apple pie preserves on top. Wow. Wow, my mama's gonna love that. I will definitely be taking my mama some. She loves ice cream, and I believe that she would really like this on her ice cream. So again, there you go. And these will all go in the water bath canner for 10 minutes, and then we'll just take them out. I lay them on a towel, cover them up with a towel, and that's it. I believe we're done except for me finishing up here. So thank you for watching. I hope you try this recipe. It is going to be delicious, and it would go so good on some of Lee's homemade biscuits. We have a video of Lee's homemade biscuits. He does such a wonderful job with homemade biscuits. I will link that in the description below too. And if you didn't watch the video of Lee getting our apples off of our tree, our apple harvest video, be sure you check that out. And that's it. So there's the end result. I have 16 jars of Dutch apple pie preserves. So there you go. All right. It looks good. So thank you for watching. Give us a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. And watch us on Friday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time.